This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by Squarespace.
Richard Lugar said to the rest of the Republicans in regards to the START treaty, that's the negotiations that we had with the Russians to reduce their nuclear stockpile and reduce ours as well, and to verify their nuclear program so there's no loose nukes. Republican Senator from Indiana, Richard Lugar, said the Republican Party must do its duty to the country and ratify this treaty. The rest of the Republicans, again, came out today, in case there were any confusion. John Kyle came out and said, hell no, we're not going to do the START treaty. We're not going to do it now. We might do it next year when we have bigger numbers in the Senate, and obviously he'll ask for a bigger bribe for his friends who make nuclear weapons, so they get rich, and then they funnel some of that money back to him. So, endangering national security, loose nukes, who cares, right? John Kyle's got to make more money, and his friends got to make more money. And Lugar's ripping his hair out. And look, if you've been following this show for a long time, you know that on foreign policy, I always give Richard Lugar a lot of credit. And I get crap for it. Oh, no, he's going to... No, I'm telling you. Look, I know that he's gone along with the Republican Party in 128 different ways. And I know that there's, I don't think there's any excuse for it. And I went along with the Bush and Cheney guys for so many things. But I know who Dick Lugar is, and I know that he's reasonable on foreign policy. And here's a point where he just said, no, I can't do it anymore. No, this is too unreasonable. This is too crazy. And of course, the Tea Party immediately pounced and said, oh, that's it, Dick Lugar's getting a primary. How dare he care about national security instead of playing politics and trying to beat the Democrats and Obama. But then, here's the interesting part. John Danforth, former Republican senator from Missouri, the guy who shepherded Clarence Thomas into the Supreme Court, so a conservative stalwart, the guy who was UN ambassador for George W. Bush, came out and said, here, I'll quote it, if Dick Lugar, having served 5 terms in the U.S. Senate and being the most respected person in the Senate and the leading authority on foreign policy, is seriously challenged by anybody in the Republican Party, we have gone so far overboard that we are beyond redemption. Here's a complete conservative, former Republican senator and ambassador saying, we have gone beyond redemption. This party has lost its mind. So, yet the Washington media is like, well, I don't know, Democrats say this and the Republicans say this, so it must be in the middle. Actually, not really the middle. It must be 80% of the way towards the Republicans. And meanwhile, you got former Republican senators going, oh my God, I can't believe how mental my party's become. That's why I get so frustrated at the media, man. Because if you don't realize how far right that Washington has slipped, well, then you're not covering the news. You're not telling people the truth. Instead, you're giving them lukewarm nonsense neutrality. And that's how we, go further down the cesspool. As usual, and Danforth is another former Republican that, I've always said good things about. Those guys are right. And by the way, it also, makes me think, okay, good. Like in that Zoolander moment, am I the one who took the crazy pill, right? I ask that question to myself all the time. And in terms of is it me or is it the country? Like, did I slip all the way to the left or did the country slip all the way to the right? And when I see people like Lugar and Danforth saying the same thing I'm saying, I'm like, yes, okay, I didn't lose my mind. Danforth was not a crazy guy. Lugar was not a crazy guy 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You could disagree with them, but they were reasonable people that you had reasonable disagreements with. And it's that Lugar and Danforth's Republican Party is not the Republican Party of today. They're running the party from a lunatic asylum.
New sponsor at The Young Turks, Squarespace. They help you build websites. They've got 24/7 support, and they've built some of the largest websites in the world.
They have an iPhone app, so you can edit your website on the go.
TYT promo code, 10% off for the life of your order. Squarespace.